Why is it so hard to stick to good habits? Have you ever introduced a good habit into your life for a short time and felt proud thinking, I finally changed? Maybe you went on a diet and saw some great results after a month. Or you started waking up early for a few weeks and felt amazing about yourself. But then what happened? One party, a holiday, or even just a low-energy day was enough to knock everything off track. You ask yourself, why did I fall back so quickly? Why can't I stay consistent like I started? Here's the truth. Starting a good habit is the easy part. Keeping it, that's where the real challenge begins. After years of research, behavioral scientists have discovered 4 key reasons why we struggle to stay on track. One of them has to do with how we think, and the other 3 are about how we act. Let's start with the first common mistake. 1. The mindset trap, the illusion of progress. In 1999, 2 psychologists, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, conducted an interesting study. They asked participants to take a test measuring logic and intelligence. They asked each person, how well do you think you did? The results were surprising. Those who performed poorly had the highest confidence in their performance. Meanwhile, those who actually did well often underestimated themselves. This became known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, a cognitive bias where people overestimate their abilities despite lacking real skill. You can see this clearly when someone starts a new habit. For example, in the first 2 weeks of waking up early, you feel so good that you believe you've already mastered this new lifestyle. But in reality, you haven't faced the true challenges of maintaining the habit. This phase is sometimes called the peak of stupidity. A small win gives you the illusion of wisdom, but there's no depth of experience yet. So what's the truth? The beginning always feels exciting because motivation is high, but motivation is temporary. The real test begins when challenges arise. That's when we see who actually understands the path and who was just caught in a moment of hype. My advice: anytime you're making rapid progress, take a step back. Ask yourself, is this speed sustainable and real, or is it just a wave of initial excitement? Real skill building is not like sprinting. It's like mountain climbing, slow, challenging, and full of ups and downs. 2. Lack of structure, starting without a plan. One of the most common mistakes people make is jumping into a habit with no clear structure. They think motivation and willpower alone are enough to keep going, but the brain isn't built for constant decision making. If you don't have a plan, every time you want to take action, you have to decide again, and making decisions burns a lot of mental energy. A simple example: let's say you decide to read 30 minutes a day, but you don't decide when, where, what, or how you'll do it. Your mind becomes overwhelmed, and that leads to resistance. Resistance leads to quitting. Structure means defining the time, place, format, and even the reward. For example, every night at 9 p.m. in the study room with a 30-minute timer, pre-selected topic and materials ready to go. The clearer your structure, the less mental fatigue you'll experience, and the more likely you are to stick with it. 3. Unrealistic optimism, underestimating time and energy. When starting something new, our brain imagines the best-case scenario. You tell yourself, I can finish this project in 2 hours, but in reality, it takes 5. Psychologists call this the planning fallacy. We tend to ignore interruptions, fatigue, distractions, and unexpected delays. Then when things take longer than expected, we get discouraged. The solution: double your time estimate. If you think something will take 2 days, plan for 4. That way you leave space for life to happen. Also shift your focus from results to process and repetition. Instead of saying, I want to lose 5 kilos, say, I want to walk 30 minutes a day. Don't be goal-driven, be habit-driven. 4. No safety nets. Why one mistake feels like total failure? Imagine a climber scaling a rock wall with no ropes. If they slip, they fall all the way down. But a skilled climber uses ropes and anchors, so even if they fall, they only drop a little, not all the way. We need that same approach when building habits. If you break your diet for one day, you shouldn't think, it's ruined, I give up. Instead, have a recovery system in place. Real example, for every habit you build, plan in advance for possible mistakes. Ask yourself, what if I skip a day? Your answer should be, I'll get back on track that same day, or the next at the latest. Create a rule, never miss 2 days in a row. Also, stop comparing yourself to others. Most people only show the highlight reel of their lives, but you're living your unfiltered reality. The only valid comparison is this: am I better today than I was yesterday? That's what habit building is really about. Because if you move forward with excitement but no anchor points, your first mistake might become your last. If one night of overeating destroys your entire diet plan, it means you had no safety net. And worse than that, comparing yourself to others. You scroll Instagram and see people waking up at 5 a.m., meditating in the park, looking full of energy. But a lot of that is just a show. Still, those images make you start blaming yourself. This is where you need to remember the most authentic path of growth is the one built with awareness, planning, and patience. Final thoughts. The real path to building habits: when you start a new habit, you feel like a superhero. Everything feels amazing. You're motivated. It's like you've changed the world. But that's just the first phase. Then comes the crash. You burn out, you fall. That's where most people give up. But if you push through that valley of discouragement, you'll slowly enter a new phase. Clarity. The hype fades and is replaced by deep understanding, calm, and consistency. Eventually, your habit becomes a natural part of who you are. Building a habit is like building a new version of yourself, not through force, not through pressure, but through repetition, flexibility, and awareness. Thank you for staying with me until the end of the video. If this video was useful to you, please subscribe to the channel and tell me your opinion in the comments.